Hello and welcome to another episode of Rando Rob. My name is Rob, and on this show, I pick a random item from my large collection of collections and discuss it with absolutely no research or sometimes organization. If you are new to the show, my name is Rob O'Hara. I have been doing this show for about 2 years, once a week for my Patreon supporters, but I am converting this into a free show that goes up on YouTube and goes out to my podcast feed. So it does not have its own unique podcast feed at this moment, but if you subscribe to I have a podcast feed that gets all of my shows, and you can find that feed over at podcast.robohara.com. There's also an iTunes link. So you can subscribe with any podcatcher. So you can get the audio version of this show if you like listening to audio podcasts in the car or while you're working. Or if you like watching the video, and the advantage the video has is that you get to actually see the objects that I'm talking about. You can find those on my YouTube page. There is a playlist on my YouTube channel, which is YouTube, I believe now it's /C. Is that what they do for people? But it's Rob O'Hara is the name of the channel. So you can find the Rando Rob videos. Now, this is video 80 something. I'm not sure what number this is, 85, 86, something like that. But what I'm going to be doing is editing the old videos and releasing those as well. So I've got a long back lot of videos of random items, so we're going to filter those in. Those will be going to the audio feed as well. So basically I won't have to do another show for years. No, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know how I do anything, to be honest with you. But anyway, it is almost Christmas. Christmas is almost here. We're 2 weeks away. So if you haven't, back in the past, that meant if you haven't done your holiday shopping, if you hadn't gone to the mall and stood in line and try to go get those last minute items, today what that means is checking Amazon and making sure that your Prime shipping is still going to have the all those gifts that you've ordered, anything that you've had sitting in your shopping basket for a few days, hoping that the price would go down. Should have got it on Black Friday. That's what I did. Cyber Monday. But yeah, it's almost here, and so I wanted to pick a Christmas item. Now, I don't collect Christmas items. I don't collect little Christmas statues or Christmas collectibles. That's just not, of all the things I do collect, that's not one of them, believe it or not. But sometimes Christmas overlaps into other collections, and that is what has happened here. So before I show you this item, I'm going to show you, again, if you're watching the video, you're going to see a picture here. So let me flip over to the picture. And what you are looking at here is a piece of artwork that was done by Ralph McQuarrie. Now, if you are a Star Wars fan, you obviously know the name Ralph McQuarrie. He's a person that did a lot of the artwork that the pre-production artwork that things in Star Wars were actually based off of, and was able to give some of the special effects employees and the artists an idea of what things were going to look like. And after Star Wars debuted in theaters in 1977, at the end of that year, Lucas and Lucasfilm sent out a holiday greeting card. They sent it out to, I don't know how many they do each year, but to people that had supported the films in different ways, and just as a holiday thing. And the first one, I think, just had R2-D2 and C-3PO on it. But this kind of became, it became, kind of an annual thing for Lucasfilm. And so they began coming up with different artwork, and Ralph McQuarrie did a lot of them. There were some other artists later who made these holiday themed Star Wars pictures and artwork. There's a very famous one of looks like a holiday cabin, and there's a fire, and you could see, I believe, Wookiees. I think R2-D2 is in it, and that painting became the album cover for the Star Wars Christmas album. What do you get a Wookiee for Christmas when he already owns a comb? It's really a problem. What a dumb song that was. And it ends with R2-D2, we wish you a Merry Christmas, which is a very lovely sentiment of children wishing R2-D2 a Merry Christmas. So that was one of the pieces of artwork that was used on these greeting cards. And so the first few years featured R2-D2 and C-3PO prominently. But after The Empire Strikes Back, the character everybody that wanted to see on a holiday card was Yoda. And so this is one of the most popular pieces of artwork that was ever featured on these cards. It's one of the most well-known, I should say, and it is a picture of Yoda. He is walking through the snow with his little walking cane that we were all familiar with, but instead of his normal robe, he is wearing a Santa the top half of a Santa Claus outfit. He's wearing Santa's robe, and he's wearing a Christmas stocking hat. And then on his back, he has a backpack that is filled with toys. And right behind him, there is a toy ball, a little red and yellow bouncy ball. And then there's a little wooden block. And if you look at the wooden block, you can see the letter facing you is a Y. And then there looks like an O. So it probably says Yoda on there. But this was a very, very popular piece of artwork, even though it doesn't fit into Star Wars universe because they wouldn't know who Santa Claus is. They have Life Day, for goodness sakes. But so this was like I said, very popular piece of artwork and very well known in those circles. And so to transition here as I go back to my normal camera. People always say that I'm a difficult person to shop for the holidays. They say, boy, we don't know what to get you and you have everything. Which is, if they don't know what to get me, that's very possible. But to say that I have everything is absurd. There's millions of things that I would love. There's all kinds of new retro action figures and little gadgets. And, I'm the type of guy that, like LL Cool J, I make a random weird, if you haven't watched Rando Rob, you will find what somebody's brain someone who has undiagnosed ADD, how our brains work and fire in 20 directions all the time. So anyway, it doesn't have to be an expensive gift. It just has to be something that's interesting and I'm not opposed to. I like gifts that I like and gifts that someone will see something and they'll say, hey, I thought you might like this, and those things turn out to be awesome. I'm really not a hard person to shop for. If you got to take the focus off of what is something specifically I want, because I got to tell you, I'm sure the Amazon Prime delivery guy knows my house by heart. There's times where they've made 2 trips a day here. It's ridiculous. So I do buy a lot of the things for myself that I would enjoy, but people surprise me all the time with little gifts and stuff, and I'm always so excited by it. I'm always so thrilled and very touched when someone says, hey, I found this thing and I thought you would like it. So many, many years ago, we used to have, well, we still do, but we had a Christmas holiday party at our house, and we invited all of our friends and all of our relatives, and there were certain people like my wife, specifically my wife's mom, my mother-in-law, had her lifelong friend and her husband. Her name was Linda Smith. So no relationship to me. This was my mother-in-law's best friend was Linda Smith and her husband, Jim Smith. And unfortunately, both of them have passed away over the past few years. But Linda Smith and Jim Smith used to come to our holiday party for many years. And Linda Smith would go out of her way to find me something. She said, I always wanted to get, like me specifically, she wanted to get me something that she knew that I would enjoy. And so she bought me 3 things here. I think she got them all together, possibly as a collection. And so I showed you the Yoda artwork. This is a figurine that is based on that Yoda artwork. It is not a toy. It doesn't feel like super fragile. I wouldn't want to drop it from more than about 2 feet up. I feel like parts of it might break off. But as you can see, if you're looking at the video, it is the Yoda. He has his walking cane. It is exactly the same as the Yoda that appears in that card. On the back, he has his little bag of toys. You can see the toys sticking out of the bag. And it's obviously Yoda. This thing is, I need to shift because I have to start thinking about people listening to this show rather than just watching the video, which is what I've done traditionally. But using my hand, I would say that it is about 5 inches tall, roughly 5 inches tall, this figurine. And it's so gorgeous. It's so detailed. It's way more detailed than just a traditional toy action figure. You know, I mean, you can see the sculpt on the face is very detailed. He has all these wrinkles. The coat, the Santa Claus coat he has on is not sculpted. It is a fabric jacket that has been put on. He has his little belt. He has in his hand, he has, I don't know what that is. Is that like a little map he's holding? I'm not sure. Oh no, it's the other part of the sack. It's the front part of the sack he's holding. That makes sense. But you can see the little sculpted toys packages sticking out of the sack. It's just so wonderfully lovely. And so when I look at it, when I see it, it makes you think Star Wars. Immediately it's Star Wars, but also immediately it's Christmas. And so it really, I mean, in the Venn diagram of Christmas and Star Wars, this is right in the middle. Now, as lovely as this is, I have to say that this is only one of 3 figures that she bought me. Now, we used to have a kind of a gift, a price limit for these exchanges. She would bring gifts. And, you know, we would say, you know, I mean, keep it within $10 or $20. I mean, of course, this was, you know, many years ago, 10, 15 years ago. So you could buy a little bit more with $10 than you can now. But I looked up the price of these things, and now some of these figures are going for like $100 or $150. I don't know what she paid for them back then. I'm positive it was not $20. The second figure that she gave me that year is a similarly themed R2-D2. Now here you have, again, to the same scale as Yoda, maybe slightly larger because this figure is also about 5 inches tall. We have the R2-D2. He's in the, he has his third leg out, so he's tilted back. He's in that configuration, and he is wearing a Santa Claus hat. Again, the R2-D2 is sculpted. It is not movable. The legs don't move. The head doesn't rotate or anything. So it's all one piece, but he has affixed to his head a Santa Christmas hat, and then he has attached kind of to his face is a Christmas package, or 2 packages, like he's holding it with this little arm or little platform thing. There's like a platform coming out from right underneath where his the big eye is. So there's a little platform, and there are 2 Christmas gifts on top of that, and then hanging off of that is a stocking on the front. So he is ready for Santa to show up and put some toys in his little stocking. Again, it scratches 2 itches for me. It's very Star Wars. I mean, when you see it, you go, boy, it's R2-D2. And then you immediately, I mean, you can't help with the bright red and white colors of the hat and the color, you know, the stocking that's protruding out the front, and the little Christmas packages, which are wrapped in red and green wrapping paper. It's very Christmassy. It's just a wonderful thing. The third one is much larger. And I say not much larger. It is. It's just not. This thing is probably 7 inches tall, but it's much bigger. And this one, it cracks me up, is Darth Vader, and he's seated. He is also wearing a Santa hat, and he, instead of making a snowman out of snow, he is making a large Death Star out of snow. There's some snow on the top. The Death Star is unfinished. If you look around the back side of it, the side closest to him, it is unfinished. So you can see he's still building it. He has some snow built up in his hands. The Darth Vader itself is skull. Everything, it's all one piece. These remind me of like the old Norman Rockwell statues. But for Star Wars fans, there are some leaves of holly, some berries around in the snow, which gives it a little bit of color because obviously Darth Vader is wearing all black, and the Death Star is mostly white with some blue highlights. So these little mistletoe, I guess is probably what that is, mistletoe hanging around down there in the snow gives it a little color. And then, of course, like the others, Darth Vader has the Santa Claus hat on there. So one of the things I've struggled with over the years is how to organize my Star Wars collection. I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Star Wars figures, of toys, of ships, of things like Pez dispenser. I mean, it's all over the place, right? And so sometimes I will go through and reorganize the Star Wars collection just to freshen things up and make it look new or different. And so one of the things I did as I began bringing my collection into the new house a couple of years ago is there are certain figures, and all 3 of these are good examples of this, R2-D2, Yoda, and Darth Vader, where I have so many things that instead of grouping like all the action figures together, all this or all that, I have a Yoda shelf. So I have an entire shelf of just Yoda things. I have statues of Yoda. I have a Yoda Pez dispenser, a Yoda bubblegum dispenser, stuffed Yodas, a Yoda coin purse, all these little different things. And so I just decided that would kind of be a fun way to reorganize things and put all the Yodas together. I also have an R2-D2 shelf, and for those of you watching the video directly above my head, you can see the Darth Vader shelf. I have a Darth Vader, the Mr. Potato Head. I think it was called Spud Vader, maybe, or but there's the Darth Vader. There's some stuffed Darth Vaders, different Darth Vader action figures. But I have like 20 or 30 different little Darth Vaders, and so I thought, I'm gonna put all those together. And so that's what I have done with these 3 items. The R2-D2 Santa R2-D2 is on the shelf with all the R2-D2s. Yoda is the same way, and Darth Vader is up there on the Darth Vader shelf. Now, for Christmas time, I have a tiny little shelf right outside my office door, and occasionally I put things out there on that shelf, and I thought it would be a fun idea just for this month, for December, to pull these 3 Christmas items out and put them out there. So for a couple of weeks, they're reunited as Christmas Star Wars displays. Now, as I was pulling these out, I found a 4th figure. Now, this figure is not part of that collection. Those, I wrote this name down. I thought it was the artist because I'm dumb. They're all listed as Kurt Adler figures, a part of the Kurt Adler collection. And I thought Kurt Adler was an artist, but I guess Kurt Adler is a store that I've just never heard of. So these are all Kurt Adler collectible, display items. But as I was over there looking at my Star Wars things, I found a 4th item that I had placed by the R2-D2 and just forgotten about. But it is a C-3PO bobblehead figure who is also dressed up as Santa Claus. So he's not, true R2-D2 or C-3PO fashion. He's not wearing any pants. He's just wearing R2-D2 or R2-D2 Santa Claus's, traditional red and white jacket, and he's wearing a Santa holiday hat. Now, unlike the other ones, there's no part of this that is soft or fabric. This is just a sculpted bobblehead, and I keep holding it near the microphone. You can obviously hear the head rattling around, but there's a C-3PO bobblehead as Santa. I don't remember where I got this, and that is the only other, I believe, Christmas-themed Star Wars item, so it makes sense that it would be displayed by the other ones. It's also not the same scale at all. I think it's probably 4.5 inches tall. I mean, it's almost exactly the same height as R2-D2. So they display well together, but they are obviously not the same scale or from the same line. Now, for those that are watching the video, I'm going to show you another picture, and I'm going to talk about this picture as well. And this is a bonus just because I'm talking about Christmas items and Star Wars items. And I used to have one other very large Star Wars Christmas display item, and unfortunately it rotted. How's that for a teaser? So let's go back over to the photos here, and I'm pulling up another photo, and what you can see now, and this is a picture from one of our previous houses, and this is a picture of our dinner table, and on the dinner table are two life-size Yodas. One of the Yodas is wearing his traditional clothes. He's wearing the lighter brown robe with the darker robe underneath. His hands are outstretched, and above one of his hands is what looks like a golden foil ball, which is supposed to be levitating. It's propped on top of a piece of plexiglass that is attached to his hand, and then we have Yoda's familiar face. But back to back, standing behind him, is a second Yoda that is wearing a miniature Santa Claus outfit. He's wearing a Santa jacket with the belt and a holiday Santa stocking hat, and it's obviously Yoda, but it is Santa Yoda. And so I have to tell you the story behind this. This was in the late 1990s. No, this is not. This is 2002 is when this was. 2002. And we had just moved to a house where the house had 4 bedrooms downstairs, and then upstairs it had just one large loft. So it had a big room upstairs that became my man cave. And so for the first time, I had a large room where I could display all my video games, all my old retro computers, all my VHS tapes, my very early DVD collection. I could have all these things. It was just one big giant man cave. I had a projector and a projector screen, so I could play video games on a giant projector. It was a really, really fun room. But for the first time, I could display my entire Star Wars collection. And so I built all these shelves on the wall, and I added Star Wars figures and put toys out. It was a really, really fun time, to decorate. And the kids, we only had one kid at the time, and he didn't really go upstairs, and nobody went upstairs unsupervised. So all my things were safe. And because I was putting my Star Wars, I was really into Star Wars collecting at the time, and I ran across one of these Yodas for sale on eBay. And I believe one was $250, and then the buyer had the other one also for $250, and I messaged him, and he said, I'll sell you both for $400, and if I bought both, he would cover shipping. So I said, great, let's do it. So I spent $400 on 2 life-size Yodas. Now, you may have gone into possibly a movie rental store. I've seen them in other places, some high-end toy stores that had these Yoda maquettes, and you would see them. They were official items. They were really expensive, and they were a life-size version of Yoda. This is not a licensed product. When I got it, you don't always know what you're buying when you see pictures of it. And if you're looking at the picture of it online right now, you can see, wow, it looks like a great Yoda. But what this actually is a high-end latex Yoda mask and then some latex Yoda hands. I don't know if they sold Yoda hands, Yoda gloves or something. And then inside the armature was very simplistic. It was not very advanced. It was like a block of wood, and then it had some pieces of wood or wire to support the arms and a little peg for the head to sit on. And then the hands and the head had been filled with spray foam. And inside the head, they put 2 glass, like toy eyeballs. So it looks pretty good. It looked good in photos. It looked good when people saw it. But it, in retrospect, is it worth $200? I don't know. It seems more like a Halloween prop that somebody would make at home, more than something that you would pay a lot of money for in a store. But I also collected some other Star Wars maquettes that they had sold, and I even collected latex masks when they released. I had the Jar Jar Binks mask. I had just all different kinds of Star Wars masks. A lot were helmets, but a lot of masks. A Darth Maul mask. I remember a Gamorrean guard mask, and these were all rubber, like latex masks, right? And then what happened is they began to deteriorate. The upstairs loft in my house, if we didn't run the air conditioner up there, got a little warm. I remember going up there one time and one of the masks, like parts of the mask that were touching, had just kind of melted together. I had a C-3PO mask and it kind of shrunk and deformed to where you could not put it on your head any longer. So the latex masks did not hold up. And so over the next several years, I don't know, 5 years maybe, the 2 Yodas I bought, I watched slowly deteriorate. The latex masks dried, they began to crack and peel, and then eventually they literally fell apart. The masks just began falling off of the spray foam skull that had been injected into them. Now, for several years when we had Christmas at our house, I would drag Santa Yoda down from upstairs and I would put it by the fireplace. And the kids all knew not to mess with him, but I really enjoyed owning these things, but they just didn't last. And so I thought I would throw this in as a bonus item just because normally I like to show the items from my collection in person. I like to hold them up to the camera, and when I look at them, I have the memories and I talk about them and stuff. But this is part of my collection that no longer exists. The Santa Yoda and the other full-size Yoda. They didn't make it. They did not make it for the long haul. So anyway, that is this week's Rando Rob. We had the Star Wars figures that all began with the Santa Yoda, which I will carefully pick back up here. We had the Santa Yoda, we had the Santa R2-D2, and of course the Santa Darth Vader, making the large snow globe version of the Death Star. If you enjoy this show, don't forget to subscribe to YouTube. If you subscribe to my channel, you'll be notified whenever I upload new videos, which will include a new episode of Rando Rob every Monday. If you want to hear this in audio form, you can check out my podcast website, which is listed right over here on the video. It is podcast.robohara.com. You can head over there and you'll find the feed to this show. I will be making a dedicated feed just for Rando Rob for the the dozen of you that like to hear me talk about the random things from my collection and tell stories. But so anyway, that's it for this week, and tune back next week for another random thing from my collection of collections. Take care, everybody.